Vivid Strike begins with a scene of bullying being carried out by a group of teenage boys against two teenage girls named Fuuka and Rinne in a field. The two teenagers are orphans and live in an orphanage. At that time, Fuuka was looking for extra money for her orphanage, but they were both blocked by a teenage boy who was there. Fuuka then fought them with a kick until a fight broke out. Even though Fuuka was injured after the fight, they managed to escape. Fuuka and Rinne have different personalities. Fuuka has the nature of not wanting to lose and will fight people who look down on her, while Rinne has a gentle, loving, and cowardly nature. The scene then changes when Fuuka has grown up. The scene shows Fuuka who was walking alone at night. She is on her way to the headquarters of the thugs who once nearly got her fired from her job. It turned out that the thugs had often bothered her. Without the help of any weapons, Fuuka managed to beat the thugs with her super strength. In the end, the police came to break up the fight. In the morning, Fuuka, walking full of wounds, met a teenage girl at a bus stop. But suddenly, Fuuka attacked her with a punch, but the girl could withstand the attack until it made Fuuka faint. Then Fuuka was immediately taken to the hospital by the girl. After Fuuka wakes up, a man who is her boss comes to see her at the hospital. The man came there with Fuuka's bag and gave her money in an envelope. He says that from now on, Fuuka was fired for her fight last night. Then Fuuka was confused about where she should go after being fired because she didn't have a home. Even though the man scolded Fuuka in a loud voice, Fuuka didn't fight him in the slightest. After that, Fuuka thanked the man for allowing her to work. The man immediately left Fuuka. After that, a male doctor came to see Fuuka. He gave a letter to her. A girl named Einhard Strato sent the letter inviting her to meet at Nakajima Gym. The next day, Fuuka complied with the girl's invitation to meet at Nakajima Gym. Arriving there, Fuuka met a girl named Nove Nakajima, the leader at that place. Then Fuuka also meets several teenage girls, all Nakajima students. Even though they are teenagers, they are martial solid arts athletes. Then Einhard came to meet Fuuka. It turned out that Einhard was one of the strongest athletes there who managed to enter the top ranks in the under-15 tournaments. Einhard often represented Nakajima Gym in martial arts fights. Einhard's purpose in inviting Fuuka to come there was to ask her to join them, because according to Einhard, Fuuka's punches are powerful and can potentially become an athlete. Fuuka also received an offer from Nakajima to work part-time at the gym. In addition, she can stay there and get food. Fuuka, who heard this, immediately agreed. But she said that she only accepted job offers. She doesn't want to be a martial arts athlete. The reason Fuuka doesn't want to become a martial arts athlete is that there is one athlete who doesn't want her to fight. The person she was referring to was Rinne, her childhood friend when they were still in the orphanage. Rinne is currently the #1 martial arts athlete who has only lost once in 58 matches. The person who once defeated her was Vivio, a student of Nakajima. Fuuka did not expect that Rinne, who used to be a weak child, has now turned into a strong woman. At that time, Rinne was adopted by a wealthy family, but somehow, she became obsessed with becoming a strong person. Even after she became famous, Rinne always looked down on others. Fuuka also had an argument with Rinne and the two fought until Fuuka suffered many injuries, even though Fuuka's intention was only to return Rinne's character to how it used to be. After Fuuka finished telling the story, she started doing her first job. Fuuka is asked to be a sparring opponent and see how to fight properly. At first, Fuuka had underestimated her opponent, but the girl was so strong that Fuuka couldn't resist their attacks. After Fuuka lost the first match, she wanted to try again. This time Fuuka will fight Vivio, the woman who once defeated Rinne. Initially, Fuuka was overwhelmed when she faced Vivio's punches, which were very agile. Then Einhard gave directions to her by shouting and encouraging her. Finally, Fuuka managed to issue her flagship punch to make Vivio bounce. After the match, she was so exhausted that she fainted from exhaustion. On the other hand, Rinne, who already had everything, was sitting on her bed. She misses Fuuka and feels very lonely. Long story short, 1 week has passed, and now Fuuka's life is better than before. After finishing her work, she then took the time to practice martial arts with Einhard daily. They then teach Fuuka the magic that can turn her into an adult woman. They call that magic a mode of change. Unexpectedly, Fuuka, who was trying this magic for the first time, immediately succeeded in using it even though it was not perfect. Then Nakajima came and told them that Nakajima Gym was invited by Frontier Gym to attend the semifinal fight from Rinne. Hearing this, Fuuka was shocked, but the invitation was only attended by 3 people. Nakajima then chose Einhard, Vivio, and Fuuka to represent Nakajima Gym at the invitation. After that, they also watched a brief snippet of Rinne's fight. Nakajima then explained the moves used by Rinne to Fuuka. She said Rinne is a great athlete who has only made her debut 2 years. She also only lost once against Vivio. She is currently the #1 athlete in the under 15 martial arts category. Rinne's fighting style is total fighting, which continues to attack her opponent from the start. She also has strong magical abilities when fighting against her opponents. Strangely, even though Rinne won many matches, she never smiled. Sometimes she made her opponent cry because she looked down on her. It was also what made Rinne and Fuuka end up fighting. The next day the semifinal match arrived. They all went to watch Rinne's match. When they arrived at the stadium, the battle began. As Nakajima said, Rinne is such a strong fighter that her opponent's attacks can't be parried. Until finally, Rinne managed to win the match. After the match ended, Rinne made an announcement. She invited Nakajima gym because she wanted to ask Einhard, Vivio and Fuuka to compete with her in the winter end of the year. Rinne said that the fight would be her last match. They didn't want to disappoint Rinne and finally accepted her offer. As the Nakajima gym team was walking home, Rinne met them again to thank them for accepting her offer. Suddenly Fuuka asks Rinne why she wants to be a strong person and why she puts other people down. Hearing Fuuka's question, Rinne immediately recalled her dark past. But Rinne attacks Fuuka and says that her past is not as good as Fuuka, who is always loved by the people around her. Whereas the reason Rinne became strong was so that everyone would not underestimate her and not take anything of value from her again. Then Rinne invited Fuuka and all the athletes from Nakajima to fight her later because she wanted to destroy them all. The next day they began to do serious exercises every day. When Fuuka returned to work and sat at the reception, Nakajima came to her. Nakajima explains to Fuuka why Rinne became the way she is now. Nakajima said that Rinne was adopted by a famous clothing manufacturer who often appeared in magazines in the past. After adopting Rinne for the first 4 years, their relationship all seems to be good. But somehow, during the last 2 years, Rinne's personality suddenly changed. The scene was moved to the scene 4 years ago. At that time, Rinne and Fuuka were still living in an orphanage. When they were in a park, a man was walking beside them. When the innocent Rinne greeted the grandfather, he was also interested in adopting Rinne. A few days later, the man and his wife, Lori, came to Rinne's orphanage on the grandfather's advice. They intend to adopt Rinne because they have not had a child during their marriage. They are rich people who own a famous brand company. Rinne was also very happy to hear that. She immediately packed up to go with them to her new home. When Rinne arrived at her new home, they treated her well. She was also given a pair of school clothes and a bracelet on her uniform's tie. Then Rinne came to the grandfather's room to see his condition, which was currently sick. The old man also considered Rinne as his own granddaughter now. The old man said that the bracelet Rinne was wearing was handmade by his wife as a present. Then the bracelet was worn by her son and is now worn by Rinne, so that there are already 2 generations who wear the bracelet. Rinne felt that it was inappropriate to wear such an important item, but the old man still asked her to wear it, and she promised to take good care of it. The next day Rinne started school. Her first day at school seemed fine. Her friends are happy because Rinne is the daughter of wealthy parents. Even at school, Rinne managed to excel in the field of martial arts. But the more famous Rinne became, the more friends who didn't like her. 3 female friends hate Rinne so much that they dare to take her bracelet and put her down. At first, Rinne asked for it to be returned in good order, but they didn't want to give it. Finally Rinne took it by force so that their hands hurt. When Rinne opened her locker the next day, she was surprised by a pile of liquid waste there. More and more, the 3 girls always treat her with outrageous treatment. They even destroyed some of her school stuff. They also bravely flushed Rinne with toilet water until she felt embarrassed. But until then, Rinne was still patient with their treatment. She hoped that her friends would get bored and stop bothering her. The next day when Rinne was in her class, one of the 3 girls came to see her. She said that Rinne could use the bracelet again from tomorrow and promised not to bully her. Hearing that, Rinne was happy. In the evening, Rinne met the old man in his room. The old man took Rinne around the park the next day. It made Rinne happy because this was her first time traveling with her beloved grandfather. In the morning, Rinne went to school with the bracelet, then she put it in the locker along with the box. When school time came, she wanted to take the bracelet from her locker. But when she opened her locker, she found the bracelet had disappeared. After Rinne searched for it, the bracelet was finally found in the toilet in a broken condition. Then the 3 girls came by saying that she was a stupid orphan. Rinne immediately took the bracelet and washed it. They then beat Rinne for no reason, but she was still patient. Then Rinne's phone rang. She was afraid something bad would happen to her grandfather, but they dropped the phone and ignored the emergency call. After that, they beat her again until she fainted. When Rinne woke up and went home, bad things happened to her grandfather. It turned out that her grandfather had died when she fainted. It also made Rinne cry loudly. Since then Rinne promised not to be a weak woman so that she would not lose something precious to her. The next day, Rinne came to see the three girls. With anger burning in her heart, Rinne beat them to the point of bleeding. Everyone who saw it was terrified. After that incident, Rinne was expelled from school. In addition, she left her new family because what she did could tarnish the good image of their company. Then Rinne chose to return to her orphanage. While she was on her way to the orphanage, suddenly, a car stopped beside her. Then Rinne was kidnapped by the people in the car. The incident was witnessed by a woman and she tried to chase after her. Rinne was taken to a place and beaten by a group of teenage boys who were her Búllies family members. Suddenly the woman who saw the incident came and helped her. Apparently that woman was Rinne's martial arts trainer now. As she approached Rinne, one of the men pointed a knife at Rinne. He said that his sister was innocent because Rinne was the one bothering them. Rinne, who heard the lie, felt disapproved. She immediately rebelled and attacked the man. When the man wanted to stab Rinne with a knife, Rinne's teacher immediately kicked him until he was blown away. After that, Rinne thanked her and decided to practice martial arts with her. After being persuaded by her coach, Rinne finally wanted to go home and gather with her new family. After Fuuka heard the story from her coach, she felt sorry for Rinne. In the afternoon, they started practicing again. After the practice was over, they went to a hot spring. Their Einhard said that Fuuka's mode change tool was almost done. The next day while Fuuka was on guard at the reception desk, Einhard came to her and gave her a kitten. Turns out it was a mode change tool made for her. Then they began to practice self-defense, but they have guests who invite them to spar. Their team coach is named Mikaya, a friend of Nakajima and some of her students. That was when Fuuka first used the tool. Long story short, the winter tournament arrived. In the first battle, it was opened with Vivio against Adele, who was Vivio's junior. She has also won junior martial arts. After the fight started, Vivio easily paralyzed the opponent without a counterattack. In the second round, Fuuka and Karnamavan will fight, but the match was quickly over and Fuuka was the winner. In the third round, Miura and Rinne was fighting, but this fight is quite long because they both have great abilities. In the middle of the fight, Miura outperformed Rinne and even made her fall. Even Miura's Star Cyber move was able to be repelled by Rinne. Seeing that Miura had exhausted a lot of energy, Rinne finally used the opportunity to attack her and hit her until 2 of her ribs were crushed. Finally, the battle was won by Rinne. After the fight was over, Miura was immediately taken to the infirmary to confirm her condition. But thanks to Mikaya's student magic skills, Miura was saved. On the other hand, Rinne, who received Miura's attack, was enduring the pain, but she could still endure it. The fourth battle began between Einhard and Zenigate, a large woman, but Einhard easily defeated her. The next day, Nakajima's student came to visit Miura. Miura's condition seems to be improving. Then Miura told Vivio to win the battle against Rinne. Vivio was happy to receive the message. Then they went home and returned to Nakajima gym. When they got there, they immediately started practicing. In the middle of practice, Vivio and Nakajima seemed very close. That's because Vivio was the first and oldest student to join Nakajima even before the gym was formed. The next day the second round of fighting arrived. This time Vivio fought against Rinne. After the two of them did a mode change, the battle began. At the beginning of the match, Vivio seemed to attack Rinne swiftly until she threw out her flagship punch so that Rinne was overwhelmed. While Vivio and Rinne were fighting, Nakajima's students were talking to each other. Miura said that actually, Rinne wasn't that strong. If her body is hit, it is vulnerable to become weak, in contrast to Vivio, who since childhood has a strong body and very sharp eyes. In the middle of the fight, Rinne managed to attack Vivio and hit her in the stomach. But the blow was not enough to weaken Vivio because she was still holding on. Then Vivio continued to beat Rinne, causing her to fall for the second time. According to the battle rules, if Rinne fell for the third time, it was certain that Vivio would be the winner. Since there was only one chance left, Rinne was determined to fight more seriously. When Rinne saw Vivio's defense begin to weaken, she immediately issued her strongest punch until Vivio vomited blood. Then Rinne kicked Vivio's leg so hard that she felt a lot of pain. Finally, Rinne hit Vivio once again with her strongest punch, causing Vivio to fall. When Vivio fell, she thought back to her old training days, so she got back up and kept trying to survive Rinne's attack. Rinne used this to continue attacking her, until she was annoyed with Vivio, who continued to persist. When Rinne was about to hit Vivio, Vivio immediately defended and counterattacked Rinne continuously. Rinne, tired of Vivio's defense, immediately gave her a very strong blow, but Vivio managed to survive, which made Rinne feel shocked. When Rinne started to let her guard down, Vivio immediately hit her with axle smash moves continuously, until finally, Rinne fell for the third time. Vivio won the fierce battle. Because both fighters suffered serious injuries, they were taken to the treatment room. Due to Rinne's attack on Vivio, she had to rest completely for 2 days. On the other hand, Rinne, who was defeated a second time by the same person, was also very sad. She went to the toilet to cry over her defeat. Then, long story short, Fuuka and Einhard managed to win the next battle, so that together they will enter the final round and fight again later. Meanwhile, Rinne, who lost for the second time, locked herself in her room while repeatedly watching footage of her battle. This makes her parents feel very worried. The next day, a woman named Victoria came to see Rinne in her room. She encouraged her to keep fighting, but Rinne said that she would stop being an athlete. Rinne then informed her coach of her intentions through a message. When her coach discovered this, she was shocked and immediately went to Rinne's house to meet her. But apparently, all will be in vain because Rinne has decided to stop being an athlete, so the coach feels desperate to persuade her. Nakajima, who knew about it from Rinne's coach, immediately announced it to Fuuka and the other students. After that, they made a video call with Rinne, who was gloomy in her room. Einhard then invites Rinne to compete against herself and Fuuka. Even Einhard was willing to risk her championship belt as a reward if Rinne won. Hearing that, Rinne was a little excited again, but she asked for time to be able to accept the challenge. Since Victoria knew Einhard better, Rinne then asked what she was like. Victoria replied that Einhard used to be the same girl as Rinne. She didn't want to be friends with anyone because she could only think about gaining power. She also used to be a street fighter who overwhelmed the police. Long story short, after Rinne heard the story about Einhard, she was willing to accept the challenge. Einhard and company were delighted to hear that. The match will also be held the day after tomorrow at the Alvin Hotel, an area of the Dead City which is often used as a training ground. When the battle arrived, they all gathered at the appointed place. Now is the fight between Fuuka and Rinne. They are getting ready by turning on fighter mode to start the match. The match begins with an attack from Rinne, which makes Fuuka bounce down. Fuuka immediately got up and responded to Rinne's attack until Rinne was bounced far through the glass of the building. After that, Fuuka fueled Rinne's spirit by saying she was still weak. Hearing that, Rinne's anger rose and gave Fuuka an attack. But Fuuka managed to withstand the attack and counterattack towards her. Fierce fighting continued. In the middle of the fight, Fuuka managed to use the moves taught by her team well. Rinne's coach was surprised to see the greatness of Fuuka. Not only that, but Fuuka also hit Rinne with Vivio's moves, so she bounced very far. Rinne's friends who saw this asked her to back off, but her trainer said she should continue this fight. Unexpectedly, Rinne, who was blown away so far, could still stand up to fight. Then the rain fell, and they continued the fight in the rain. Rinne continues to attack Fuuka, but Fuuka manages to hold her back. While the fight was still going on, Fuuka reminded Rinne of her past memories of living in an orphanage together. Seen they were eating a piece of bread at the dining table. Then Fuuka went out of the house to the yard to chop wood. At that time, Fuuka couldn't smile because she was born an orphan. Even then, Rinne kept trying to make her smile. Even though, in the end, Fuuka was angry with her, Rinne just smiled and didn't care. When Rinne gave some of her food to Fuuka, she was finally able to smile. Since then, Rinne can change Fuuka to learn to accept the situation. Fuuka then asked how to make Rinne want to change her attitude to be like before. But Rinne instead replied curtly and asked Fuuka not to advise her because she was nothing to her. Hearing those words, Fuuka's anger peaked. But Fuuka still tries to make Rinne want to turn into a loving and gentle Rinne. But Rinne answered with the same answer as before. After that, their fight became even more fierce. They attacked each other with all their might. Rinne recalled the first time she had physical training with her coach in the middle of the fight. At that time, she was subjected to very hard training by her trainer, so sometimes she fainted from exhaustion. But Rinne realized her coach imposed it on her so that she became stronger. Suddenly Rinne attacks Fuuka with the strongest blow until the rain stops. Fuuka instantly bounced away, and she fell. Fuuka's friends who saw this immediately stood up because they were worried about her condition being thrown so far away. But the blow could still make Fuuka get up and walk towards Rinne. Then they both returned to fight. Then Fuuka took out her signature move called Haodan Kuken. Rinne's body could not accept the move until she fell and fainted. That way, Fuuka can win the fight. Long story short, after that incident, Rinne's character has returned to how it used to be. Rinne, who was always aloof and only focused on strength, finally tried to change that trait. She also apologized to Fuuka for her words during the fight. The next match will begin between Fuuka and Einhard. When the two prepare to fight, the anime ends. The moral that can be learned is not to underestimate and demean weak people, because one day, life will turn around, so weak people will become much stronger.